seeing your reactions to Watergate from earlier and knowing that there is a Philip affiliation with the DC area, and knowing that Philip was
Watergate with the two DC people. Chat Krewe, come on, man.
My great grandmother was Richard Nixon. What can I tell you?
So, but Steve, this is a board game show. Tell me and Verla what we're doing tonight.
What are we doing?
Well, tonight we are going to do a history-ish themed version of the Boudin Bowl. We have created, between BJ, Verla, and I, we have created a little draft of games where we created 4 categories that we were picking from. And those 4 categories, we'll take you through them one at a time. But what you're going to listen to is us give a little pitch to you. We'll try to keep it to maybe 20 seconds to really keep it popping along. But we're going to tell you what the category is and why we picked the game we did. And then our esteemed judges, Tory and Kevin, are going to pick winners in the category. Whoever
and the chat crew can influence them.
The chat crew can influence them. The chat crew might not get votes, but they certainly do spread their influence across the map.
That's right.
So what they're going to do is try to pitch you, and if Tory likes one, that'll get a point. If Kevin likes a different one, that'll get a point. But if they both pick the same one, that one person's game will get 3 points. And at the end, we'll add them all up across the categories to see who picked the most history fantastical games.
Wayne says he's in. All right, Wayne.
All right.
And what is Evan is saying? What? Quaxaquilla? Every time. It doesn't matter the category. Best 17-player game. It's Quaxaquilla.
That's always the answer.
It's a running joke on the show, Tory.
BJ and Verla, do you have our doc open to remind us of which games?
I do.
Cool.
I do.
All right. So
All right,
I'll lead you through the first category here, and then we'll go through them in order that's BJ, Verla, me.
We're playing the Boudin Bowl. It's brought to us by our friends at Game Toppers LLC. Don't forget, make your game nights a showstopper when you play on a Game Topper. Steve, take it away.
All right. Our first category that BJ, Verla, and I were picking from all the games we love, we made the first category Best Map Game. And we let that be defined however you want. It could be the most beautiful map. It could be the most unique map playing game, the one that you love the most, whatever it is. So, BJ, kick us off with what was your map pick and sell Tory and Kevin on it.
The Overlord's not going first? Oh, wow. Okay, good.
It was in the order of you picked first. So I was going to go through draft style.
Topher. Shh, Topher, that's not a good choice at all.
Topher, that's the best choice.
So I did pick one, and I picked it near and dear to my heart. It's a game that I got to play in its infancy, but I also got to interview the designer a couple of times, and he told a fantastic story about Captains of the Gulf. It's got a gorgeous map of the Gulf, and he built the game in honor of his grandfather, who actually was out on the water from Morgan City and shrimped and got crabs all of his life. It was a tough life back in the 20s and 30s. Wore his grandfather down. But he, Jason almost cried saying, I wish my grandfather had been alive to see what his history passing down to him and the love of the sea and the love of this map. No, Topher, it's not to scale. It's not a perfect map of the Gulf of Mexico, but Harold Lusky's art is fantastic in the game. It's got this evocative cover of the sea, and you really see it. When you're looking at Captains of the Gulf, you're looking at the map, just like you see this beautiful map here with Votes for Women. So I'm hoping to play the sentimental card right on number 1 with Boudin Bowl. But yes,
if you win, Jason gets a point.
It's all about Jason's grandfather, Tory. It's Jason's grandfather in the history.
Okay. BJ's made his pitch. V, what you got?
I have Concordia. Topher called it. And really, this is what Steve wanted, and BJ knows that's what he wanted deep down in his heart as well, because we are all constantly playing this wonderful game that comes with, you can get the expansions, so many maps, trading on the Mediterranean and all these different areas. It's just a classic game. Have you guys played it? If you haven't, you are missing out. It's brilliant. It's so elegant in the gameplay. You've got cards. Everybody has the same set of cards to start with. You just pick a card on your turn, play it, do what it says. Then you can buy more cards. You can, build your little settlement so that you can get resources. And it's just great fun. We've all been playing it on this website that finally crashed, What Is You? So we're trying to get it going on Steam within our little group. And that's how we all bond together. And so, I mean, why would you not pick that, BJ? This is how we bond.
Solid
our
response.
group.
Solid response. I see your sentimentality, and I raise you in more immediate group friend love here. All right, I see how this is going to go.
I know Topher and Evan are going to vote for it.
Well, they certainly are already out lobbying. Consistent with the theme of the night, they're lobbying for your choices here. My choice was Tickets to Ride, and you notice that I made that plural because every
shenanigans. Shenanigans. I'm calling shenanigans. You can't pick maps. It's map.
Best map game. If you're going to put me on the spot, I would probably say I like the Europe map, or maybe the Nordic countries map might be my favorite. But those maps, if you want to get sentimental about something, those might have been our entry into the field. Maybe that wasn't our entry to the game friends that we have, but those are the early games that might have gotten you hooked. And what got you hooked was traveling across that map that you already know. That's America. That's Europe. That's Scandinavia. And now I'm laying down my trains. For me, that was the idea that when I thought maps, that's the entry to the field for this.
So Wayne throwing the darts, though. Concordia is my top 10, but that map is bleh. Verla.
Pick a different one. There's so many options. There's got to be prettier ones than
we're making it tough for you and Tory. We're making it tough for you and Kevin right off the bat.
All right, Kevin, what do you think?
All right, this is a piece of cake. So, Concordia does not win. I like the game. Everybody I've tried to teach it to hasn't liked it, and I think at least 3 people have slagged the map. So Concordia is a definite no.
You're playing with the wrong people, Kevin.
They're terraforming Mars kind of folks, I guess. So, Ticket to Ride is a nice option,
right,
although I don't like Europe's rules. But I have to be honest, Captains of the Gulf. I think that might be my winner. I like that story. My great-great-grandmother was the second oldest survivor on the Titanic, the oldest from 3rd class, and that's why I feel a tie to games about the Titanic. Similarly, this game that Jason made, that's what I'm going to go for.
Okay.
But nice. I think we need to do some fact checking on BJ's story. Like, who knows if this is even true? This whole thing about Jason's grandfather, he could be making it all up.
What is truth? What is truth?
What is truth?
Spoken like an academic.
I'll send you the link, Verla. I'll send you the link.
So what do you think, Tory?
So I've never played Concordia, and I hear bleh in the chat, and so I take that off my list. I thought when I heard this category, my first thought was Ticket to Ride. It's one of those games that I beat my husband at, and it's really gratifying. I've never played the Scandinavian map, so I don't know. So I think I'm also going to go with Captains of the Gulf. I put a picture of my great-grandmother in the deck in my stupid cat. Sorry. On the Women in World War I card.
Is that a cat on the show, really?
Well, she's down. She's not.
We have a tradition of getting cats on the show. So.
Kevin and the pirate cat over there.
There you go.
My cat only has one eye, so she trumps everybody.
Story, Tory.
Okay.
So I was able to put a picture of my grandmother the great grandmother in the deck. It's like the sentimentality is in the art, right? So if we just to decide on what metric we're deciding this, sentimentality and art, that's
totally your call. I get it. I thought I had you with Ticket to Ride. If you are interested in playing a 2-player game, the Nordic countries one is a tight map, and it's really good for 2 players. So beat your husband at that one.
I'm in.
Oh, I like it.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Do you want to shuffle up the order? Or you want to go in the same order and let BJ, beg and plead first, and then Verla and I will actually make cases?
I would love for the Gumbo Overlord to go next.
Okay. Verla's next pick. This next category is best city location game. So the game has to be named for a city, but we're going to sell it to you based on gameplay or if the location made it thematic somehow. So Verla, what was your city game?
So my city game was really hard to decide on, but I went with Tilatum Tilitum, however you pronounce it. Nobody knows how to pronounce it these days, it seems like. And it's a real city, I think, in Belgium that has a different name now. Yeah, Evan, I could have gone with Castles of Burgundy for a region because that's my #1 game. You know it. But yeah, Tilitum has been just a top game for me since it came out last year. What's that?
Hey, so Jared said...
Oh, Evan. But it's another map game. You know, it's a map of Europe. And I don't know, gosh, how many hundreds of years it goes back with the different names. But you are dice drafting. It's got really cool mechanics for how you are moving around the board, moving around the map, collecting resources, getting people to put in your houses. And that's what I go with.
Okay. Solid pick. I have yet to play that one, but I'm hoping that's going to be a Chuck Con.
Tilitum, fantastic. And I'm going to bring Tilitum to Chuck Con for us.
Good deal. Okay. Fantastic. So if we're going to rotate like that, then I think it comes to me next.
That is a fantastic second choice.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Well, okay. So let's hear the first choice. I'm going to go next. My choice would be, and Topher's already nailed it, Bruges. Bruges, if you like a Euro game,
great movie.
Bruges is a very accessible, wonderful multiplayer, multi-use card game. You love Feld, you're going to love Bruges. But what I personally like a lot about it, I'm going to sell you on this, the vibrant Euro color palette, the kaleidoscopic taupe, the volcanic brick and sandstone colors that really make everything the rainbow of Euro goodness.
This is a weird Boudin Bowl we've got going on here.
I'm grasping at straws. I got a 0 here, BJ. But Bruges is a fantastic game centered on the city of Bruges, and it's really accessible. Card play is the thing, and it's a good way to get into something a little bit deeper when you're starting off in that gateway and you want to dig a little bit deeper into something strategic.
Steve, I would have voted for Waterdeep just to be the Cylon because
that's a great city.
Well, Bruges was what I was deciding between that and Tilitum. So you know what? My feelings aren't hurt if you go with Bruges because that's a great pick too.
Magnanimous.
Fantastic game.
But before you pick one of those two, I want to tell you about my friend's grandfather. sorry. No, I want to tell you about my game. And my game is a game that I enjoyed. And also because, in all honesty, Verla's going to question this, but I am related to the original Postmaster General of Canada, Pedro da Silva, known as La Portuguese. That's what he was known because when he crossed over in the early 1500s, he was Portuguese, and they would nickname you by your name. So in doing that research, I found out he was originally from Lisboa. So every time I see a game that has anything to do with that section of Portugal, I always get excited. And I got the chance to back the Kickstarter of Lisboa from Eagle Griffin Games. And when I opened it up, this is almost as good as a Fort Circle game in terms of production, Steve. I mean, it's almost as good. It's like this close. Lisboa is fantastic produced. It's got amazing art from Ian O'Toole. It's got this vibrant color scheme, but it's both super simple and super complex. There's only really 2 rules. You play a card and you pick a card. But when you play that card, 17 things happen to you. So you got to keep all those in track. It breaks my brain. When I play it, I find it extremely thematic because if you know anything about the history of Lisboa, they had a triple whammy. They had a earthquake and a fire and something else all at the same time. Flood, which all were related, completely leveled the city, but it birthed a beautiful new city that came out and a art style, Manuelista, I think is what it's called. The buildings were built after King Manuel there in a military style because the only people that were left were the military who built the city, rebuilt the city in a military style. So that's Lisboa. It goes back to my ancestor who struggled, Tory, to come across the ocean and fought the wilderness of Canada. And that's Lisboa.
Not very approachable, though, to newbies.
It's not.
Bruges and Tilitum are far more approachable for beginner gamers.
I'm curious to hear what they say, though, about it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. Pedro
da Silva. Ever.
Accessibility matters a lot to me. as you might be able to tell from my game, and that these entry games are, that they're fun for everyone as well as sort of new people, right? I think that is huge. I have been to Bruges. It is an amazing city. It is a fantastic movie, and I'm voting for Bruges.
Oh,
okay.
Congrats. I will cheer for that.
So the right answer, of course, is Great Cities, Washington, D.C. Just because we won't be publishing it until next year is no reason that you shouldn't have picked that.
Had I known, Kevin, had I known.
And then the second pick, which I was hoping someone would pick, was Carcassonne, because
Evan did say that.
Carcassonne, is such a. So my in-laws are now 80, and it's a little harder to play with them now. But like the last 10 years, we've played just the most cutthroat versions of Carcassonne. My wife, my sister-in-law, and my in-laws, and to the level that we just can't play Carcassonne with anybody else because we are just that good and that vicious, and it's anyways. And so if anyone would have said Carcassonne, that would have had my vote. So I guess I'll go for Lisboa.
Evan wins the internet tonight. Evan wins the internet. So Kevin, I had a friend of mine who's a big board gamer, but he told me, y'all are playing Carcassonne tonight? I don't want to play that. I don't like playing those, those friendly games. I'm going, friendly?
Friendly?
That is what are they, the old trope, it's a knife fight in a phone booth if you play it with the right people. I mean, it's one of the meanest games alive.
Oh, yeah. And so, getting into someone's farm, stealing their cities, like bitter and vicious. But I didn't play it initially because the first edition rules or first English printing rules that I think it was Rio Grande were a mess, and I didn't want to play it. But then the rest of the family just caught into it so much. I was like, fine, I'll play, because it's weird. I'm the game player and I'm not playing this game that they all love. So that's then great. I came in, and yes, Carcassonne is. I mean, it's not a game like I would say now, we got to play that, but it's just such a classic. It eclipses even Catan for me. It's or even Ticket to Ride. It's the classic game to play.
So Steve, are you giving Evan a point for Kevin?
I don't know. I would be tempted to do so, but Evan's going to.
Is Kevin picking a city?
Are you? Did you?
No, I said Lisboa. I said Lisboa.
Okay, I didn't hear it. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I didn't want to hear it, but I guess I hear it now.
It's a weak third choice, but.
Okay, BJ extends his lead. All right.
Thank you.
Next game is Best History Themed Game. Now, this has to not be affiliated with either one of the two of you, and history can mean however we define it board game-wise. It doesn't have to be a war game. Because
we'd have been fighting over votes for women or Shores of Tripoli for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
Exactly. So if we want to rotate this around, is it my turn to kick off?
It is yours.
Go for it, Steve.
Okay. My game, and I'm pretty optimistic about my choice here, is Watergate. Seeing your reactions to Watergate from earlier and knowing that there is a Philip affiliation with the DC area, and knowing the Philip
Watergate with the two DC people, Chat Krewe. Come on, man.
My great grandmother was Richard Nixon. What can I tell you?
Watergate, very solid choice, Steve.
But a solid, literally tug of war, back and forth, playing for power and influence, and whether you pick whichever side, it feels a little bit easier to pick there, because it seems like at that point I wouldn't mind playing as Nixon and throwing myself into the villainy role if I wanted to do that, because I could think about that as role playing rather than being on the wrong side of history, perhaps. But Watergate just really screamed thematic history game for me.
Good choice. I threw a curveball in this one for y'all. Number one, it's my favorite city in the whole world, as Steve knows, New York City. And so I picked a game, New York 1901. And I could tell when I wrote it down in the notes that both Verla and Steve rolled their eyes. They're like, New York 1901? How's that a history game?
You're wrong, BJ. You're so wrong.
But that's because I've followed and befriended Chenier LaSalle, the designer. Even before the game came out, I was following the development not before it came out, before it won the awards, I was following the development of it. Chenier LaSalle, who's the designer, loves history, and he loves photographs. So when he was making this game, and I think this is where Tory's going to be thinking about this, because it's similar to what you did with Votes for Women. As he's making the game, he created a Facebook page called Postcards from New York City. And what it is he started collecting postcards of these amazing buildings at the turn of the century. And then he kind of put it out there. People started sending him postcards from all these beautiful buildings, not knowing that this is about a game. This is just one of those Facebook, group type things. If you go through those amazing photographs, you see the history of what I believe is the world's greatest city, Steve, New York City. I'm a big fan. So
that's the thing you've said tonight that you're not wrong about.
I had to pick New York 1901 because I think it is secretly a fantastic history game for anybody that plays because they're going to see these buildings and they're going to be interested in it and do like me. They're going to Google it and come up with that beautiful website that Chenier has curated. So,
okay.
New York 1901.
Well, BJ, you're wrong. When I saw that was your answer on the list, I was like,
really?
Oh, BJ, that was really good. Why didn't I think of that one? And you're the one that's gotten me to play it. I owned that game, never played it, ended up trading it out, and then finally played it with you at BGG Con. And I was like, okay, this needs to come back into my collection because I really want to play it again. So yeah, I wish I had picked that and put that on my list. But I put Great Western Trail because you get to be a cowboy, driving cattle across the range. You're
going to sing the Toby Keith song, right?
Should have been a cowboy.
There it is.
Yes. Bring it. It's deck building. You've got all these cute cows, and then they're going to make a new version that's New Zealand that has sheep that are so cute. And you're trying to get with the new version, the second edition of Great Western Trail with the cows. You've got these little baby cows if you get a card early on, and then you can trade them as you get to Kansas City and they grow up, and then it's a teenage cow. It's kind of gangly and awkward. And then it's a big grown-up cow. If you get the highest one, then you get more points for it. It's so much fun. Much fun.
Then you eat it?
No, you put it on a train and let somebody else eat it at the other end.
Yeah, then it's history.
That's how it works.
Okay.
So,
GWT. All right, what do you guys
I
think?
mean, it may not have the flavor text and all the, historical, very specific historical pieces like Steve's choice in Watergate, which is a very good choice, and BJ's. But, if you're all about American history and like cowboy, the whole idea of the Midwest cowboy, you can't go wrong with Great Western Trail.
Solid choice, brother.
If this show were in Montana,
and yes,
Verla
putting
would
cowboy
win.
hats on the meeples, super fun, so satisfying. You got to get the second edition. They kind of upgraded the bits and everything. So great.
Kevin, what do you think?
So the right answer would have been Star Wars Rebellion because that is a game that takes place a long time ago, but
in a galaxy far, far away.
Yes. And that's actually why we had it at our convention. Was the only non-historical game we had there. Well, non-historical, of course, it's really a historical game. Boy. So I actually grew up in Montana, and so you would think I would like Great Western Trail, but actually I don't, and I don't know why. It's some moral failing on my part.
You just seem to be against me this entire game, Kevin.
I know. I've actually
been
noticing
ever done to you, man?
Yes. Well, it's because, I do a good deed, votes for women, so now I'm going to do a bad deed and, always vote against your choices.
Oh,
no. Wow. So Tory's going to be clearly voting for Great Western Trail now.
But she should probably balance me out. So I would say
canceling votes.
Yeah. What I often say, so I run the Watergate tournament at PresCon, and I ran one here for Circle DC. And what I usually say is my only criticism of Watergate is that we didn't publish it. So I'm going to have to go with Watergate.
It does feel like a Fort Circle game. It would have been a great one.
Yeah. I can see that.
It's fantastic. Tory.
Yeah. I would say Watergate was one of the games I got right before the pandemic and played a lot of it. There was a lot of free time on my hands. And I think that's right. The tug of war, the being a villain, like it's all right there. I'm not from Montana, but I used to live in Kansas, which was cow country in Ellsworth, which is, one of those old they have Cowtown days. So I'm very connected with the history of the Old West. I just watched Stagecoach tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, John Wayne. Like what?
John Ford. John Ford. Yeah.
Ford's. Yep.
Yeah.
It just got released on the Criterion Collection, and so the great movie. So, and
Panavision.
And cows. I think 1901 getting people to send you postcards sounds like kind of a cop out on research. With Great Western Trail.
Thank you.
The cows take it.
Nicely done, Verla.
Nicely
done. So what are our
Verla.
Scores going into the fourth quarter?
Going into the final round, this now has Verla with 1, me with 2, and BJ with 4. The only one who won a 3-pointer with Captains of the Gulf.
So I think Verla should go first.
Okay.
Give her a chance to pitch it to the crowd and get this thing done.
Sounds good. All right, Verla, the last category that we've got is Best Ancient Civilization kind of themed game. It just has to be at least marginally set in a before the Renaissance time, space, setting, I suppose.
Ooh, so Star Wars Rebellion is out, Kevin.
Happened a
long time ago.
So I went with Teotihuacan, the City of Gods, where you are trying to build the ancient Pyramid of the Sun. Have you guys played it?
I own it.
You own it. You own it. Well, there's a start. We're starting off on a somewhat good foot here, Kevin. You own it, but you haven't played it yet. You're missing out. It's got these tactile square blocks that you're building this pyramid with in the middle of the table. It's got this amazing table presence. You have your dice that you're using for your workers. They go around the board. There's like 8, I think, like sections around the board that you can go to gather resources, stone or gold or decorations for the temple of the pyramid as you're building it up. There's some set collection. There's some ancient Mesoamerican masks that you can collect. They are coming out with a new deluxeified version of it on Kickstarter, talking about blinging out your games. I mean, I was really impressed with the game as it was when it came out, 2019-ish. And the upgrades that they're doing on it are just like, oh my goodness, wow. So anyways, talk about ancient civilization. That's one of the few that I've played and really, really liked. So that's my vote.
Okay. All right. To me, my choice for this was Ra, going back to Reiner Knizia and ancient Egypt. For this, that's the setting. It may not be super historical, but the setting there calls out to me. And there's so many different versions of this with different art that you're guaranteed to find one that you like the look of, including a new edition from, was it 25th century? BJ, did you get that one?
Sorry,
I'm pretty sure it is.
Evan and I are doing some Photoshop stuff. Sorry about that.
I see. What you've got with Ra is
I do have the brand new one from 21st century.
What surprised me about it is that it's an auction game, and I don't like auction games. But it's an auction game that is very accessible. You have a couple of different choices of what you can bid, and your bids will eventually come back into rotation. So that when you place the bid, there will be when the bid finishes, those things are going to get redistributed in some ways. So you're then going to be trying to pull out of a bag, Quacksequedlenberg style, although this came first, and you're going to be doing set collection through auctioning. And the fun that is in this little auctiony game while you're rooting for someone to break or bust and chanting Ra, 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 for Ra to arrive. I was just blown away by how accessible and fun this game was. It's like a pumped up set collection sushi go-ish type thing with auction that is in a setting that I love, the ancient Egyptian theme.
It's a good sell. That's a good sell. So I found out that Europeans have about 2%, in some cases, Neanderthal DNA still left around. And so I started thinking about my ancestors and the struggle they had. No, I can't even sell this one. It's Stone Age, and there's 2 reasons I picked it. Number one, it was really one of the first ancient civilization games that I kind of played and had a good time as a board game, because we used to play Age of Mythology and Age of Empires a lot. Stone Age is nothing like that. It's a worker placement game. It's got a great dice mechanic. The dice cup smells terribly when you first play it. It's got all those things that when I was first getting into the game, I know.
Oh, this is a winner.
It's true. It's true. But the second reason I picked it is simply because when we play it, I love singing the B-52's Love Shack. I mean, we're going to sing Love Shack the entire time. If you play Stone Age with me, we're always going to be singing Love Shack. So, ancient history.
Roof. Rusted.
Ancient history. I'm 2% Neanderthal, as my wife would tell you anytime we go to the bowling alley. And number 3, it's got the Love Shack. So that's my story for Stone Age.
The selling point on this, you're gonna love this game. It smells noxious. Is like
ever the sideline.
Total reverse psychology, BJ's
Hey,
trying.
Tory likes accessible games, so I threw New York 1901, didn't land, but Stone Age, very accessible. It's a game that everybody's got to play at some time.
True.
So.
I still haven't played it, but you didn't really sell me tonight, BJ. A stinky, smelly game?
Yep.
You're going to make people sing?
Love
Look, you're bad singers.
I
liked your choice of Teotihuacan too, Verla. That is a thinky game that hurts my head, but in a good way.
All right, so Tory, what you got?
So I will immediately reject the Stinky Cup game. Don't know what that's about.
I don't know if that came out the way you meant it to come out. But okay, go ahead. We'll take it.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I am intrigued by group chanting, but ultimately decide against bringing. There was some terrible Marvel show about the raising of Egyptian.
Oh, maybe.
Good one.
Ethan Hawke makes me think that's a bad idea. So I'm going to go with Teotihuacan. I'm going to Mexico City for my 40th birthday in 2 weeks. So I've been reading up on it. I've been doing research. And so easy, done. It sounds a lot of fun. It looks beautiful. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but it's definitely on my list.
If we ever get together, happy to teach it to you.
That'd
Super fun.
Nice.
Sounds good.
Right. Over some alligator bites, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
So no pressure, Kevin, but this is the most important decision you make all day. No pressure.
So Raw is a game that we would never publish because it's not really historical at all, right? The theme is just pasted on there. That could be anything.
It really could.
But
it could be Barnum and Bailey Circus. It could be.
Yes, but my father-in-law, it's the only game that he dominates the family at. His ability with that game. I know, it's crazy, right? That old fart dominates at Raw. Usually there's 5 of us that play games, and if it's Carcassonne, my wife and I win 2/3 of the games, and then maybe the rest. But so we're kind of the better game players. But with Raw, I would say that old coot wins 80% of the time. He just dominates Raw, and so I gotta say hats off to the old man, and hats off to Raw, because there's a game that I suck at, and my father-in-law's great at. So
I approve of that.
There's some value in that. So so I'm gonna go with Raw.
All right, give us a score, Steve.
The stinky game was. So sounds like a Blue Panther game.
Hey, Tom Roller checking in. All right, thank you for coming by. Just missed the game.
This ended up being pretty close at the end, and I was almost able to take advantage of the BJ loses ties, but BJ, I think, has pulled it out 4-3-2.
Oh, Verla had a good comeback there in the end.
Teotihuacan, I thought when you said Ra is themeless and pasted on, I agree, but I thought Teotihuacan was going to take it. You would have taken the tie. You'd have had it.
And so in fairness, I not only own it, I've looked at it, and it looks like a pretty good game. And I think, but it's hard for me to, without actually having played it or watched anybody play it, really make a full commitment to it. And so I feel really bad about this, and I see the scowl you're giving me. So if I need to send you some promo cards for Votes for Women or anything I need to do to make the way between us better, I'm happy to do so. So
you should fear the Gumbo Overlord.
Bragging rights, but Verla wins the game.
Yes, she did.
All right. Makes sense.
That is the Boudin Bowl presented by our friends at Game Toppers LLC. Don't forget, make your game nights a showstopper when you play on a Game Topper.